They thought the debt was just a number on a screen. But in this town, when you steal from the wrong people, the forest sends someone to balance the books. No one ever sees his face. They only hear the slow steps behind them and the sound of branches snapping closer and closer. Liam worked at a small finance company that helped desperate people. On paper, it was a legal business. In reality, they trapped families in endless debt with hidden fees and impossible interest rates. Liam told himself it was just a job. He signed contracts, made phone calls, and pretended not to hear the sounds of people crying on the other end of the line. He just wanted to hit his numbers, get his bonus, and go home. But everything changed when his boss, Mr. Cole, decided to expand their operations into the old neighborhoods near the forest. There was a community there that most banks avoided. They lived close to the trees, followed their own traditions, and didn't trust outsiders. Mr. Cole didn't care about any of that. He saw poor families, old land, and one clear word in his head: profit. He believed everyone had a price, and every piece of land could be bought or taken. One evening, Liam was ordered to visit a woman named Mara. She was a widow living with her teenage son and her sick father in a small house right at the edge of the forest. They were 3 months late on their payments. The company had helped them with a medical loan for the grandfather, but the interest was designed to double every single month, making it impossible to ever pay off. When Liam arrived, he saw the truth of their situation. There was no money, no luxury, nothing left to cut back on. Just medicine, old blankets, and faded photos on the wall. Mara begged him for more time. Her son stood in the doorway silent, his eyes filled with a cold, quiet rage. For a moment, Liam felt something twist in his chest. He knew he could lie on the report. He could mark partial payment and buy them a few more weeks. Instead, with Mr. Cole listening in on the call, he followed his orders. He read the script, threatened legal action, and scheduled the seizure of the house. 3 weeks later, the house was empty, the company took the land, and the forest seemed to grow closer to the road where the house used to be, as if it was slowly swallowing the absence. That same night, Liam started hearing branches scraping against his window. Even though he lived on the 10th floor in the middle of the city, every night at exactly 3:17 a.m., Liam woke up to the same sound, footsteps, slow and heavy, walking on dry leaves. But there were no trees outside his building, no garden, only asphalt and city lights. He tried to ignore it. He buried himself in work, closed more predatory contracts, and raised his bonus. But the more people he pushed into debt, the louder the forest became. It started to creep into his phone. During calls, he would hear wind and distant whispers hiding behind his clients' voices. Sometimes for just a second, he'd hear Mara begging him again. One day, Liam found a dead branch on his office chair. It was wet, as if it had just been broken off a living tree. No one in the office had any idea how it got there. That night, on his computer screen, a phrase appeared in a blank email draft. All debts must be paid. He hadn't typed it. He deleted it, but it reappeared instantly. He shut down the computer, but the words seemed to glow on the dark screen for a moment before fading. Weeks later, Mr. Cole called an emergency meeting. Several difficult clients had vanished. People who owed the company money were simply disappearing from the system. Their debts were marked as settled, but no one in accounting had touched the files. Security camera footage from the office showed something no one could explain. At 3:17 a.m., the front door had opened by itself. The hallway lights flickered erratically. For just a few frames of the recording, a tall, thin shadow stood in front of the elevators, dripping something dark onto the floor. Then the footage glitched, and the rest of the frames were corrupted. After that night, every person at the company who had ordered an illegal interest rate started receiving messages with just one sentence: "You know what you owe." One by one, they began to die in ways that made no sense. A manager was found in his car, completely covered in dirt and leaves, even though he had been parked in a clean underground garage. An executive drowned in his own bathtub, which was filled with black, murky water that smelled like rotten roots. At every scene, the police found the same thing: a single fresh branch placed gently on the body. Liam tried to run. He quit his job, blocked every number from the company, and moved to a cheap apartment far from the city. No more contracts, no more debts, no more clients. He convinced himself that if he just stopped, the forest would forget him. But one night, the power went out. His phone died, the street outside went completely silent, and the air grew thick and humid. When he lit a candle, He realized his fatal mistake. The window no longer showed buildings and city lights. Outside, there were only trees. The city was gone. His entire apartment was now standing in the middle of a dark, endless forest. The door creaked. Footsteps approached, slow and deliberate, crushing dry leaves that hadn't been there a second before. The handle turned, but the door didn't open. Instead, a voice echoed inside his head, deep and patient. You knew what you were doing. Images flashed before his eyes. Mara's face, her son's angry stare, the old man's medication, the empty house, and all the predatory contracts he had signed. For the first time, Liam said the words out loud, his voice cracking. I did this. I took everything from them. The voice answered. Then you understand why you're here. The walls of the apartment started to rot. Bark and moss grew over the paint. Roots crawled across the ceiling like dark veins. Liam fell to his knees as something tall and faceless stepped through the door without opening it, as if the wood had melted around its shape. He couldn't see a face, only a hollow darkness where a face should be. In its hand, it held a folder with all of Liam's contracts. The pages bled ink. The numbers turned into crawling insects. One debt for each life you broke, the presence said, without moving its invisible mouth. Tonight you start paying. The next morning, Liam's old co-workers arrived at the office. His desk was empty. His name was gone from every system, as if he had never worked there. In the news, no one mentioned a missing man. His apartment was listed as vacant, even though he had moved in just weeks before. To the world, he simply never existed. But deep in the forest, there is now a new sound at 3:17 a.m. 2 sets of footsteps. One is slow and ancient. The other is human, tired, and forced to walk. Some say the forest didn't kill Liam, it promoted him. It turned him into another collector doomed to walk between the trees, feeling every fear, every desperation he once ignored on the phone. So if one day you sign a contract you don't quite understand, and you hear branches scraping your window at 3:17 am, don't look outside. Because if you see them, it means your debt is already due. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more tales from the shadows.